She's not what you'd expect. She's tough and feisty, but gentle and tender. She makes millions and gives millions to the poor. She cries, she laughs, she teaches, she comforts. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. Thanks so much for joining us. Today we're going to be talking about your spiritual life and mine. Every single week we like to just kind of take a quick pause and put a focus on the best success book ever written, a place where great wisdom and understanding are coming from. Honestly, I have to tell you that where I've learned most about wealth, where I've learned most about parenting, being married, how to solve problems, how to build a business, communication skills, leadership skills, even health, even tips for my health have all come out of the same common denominator. This book right here, the best success book ever written, that I believe that everybody else has written success books, including me, have all drawn those principles straight out of this book. So we're going to be turning today in the book of Proverbs, chapter 10. It just happens to be where I am chronologically because I read this book cover to cover each and every year, sometimes twice in a year. And there's just so much richness that comes out of it. And sometimes there's just something that like halts my soul and just says, bam, stop right here and focus on this. And so first I'm going to go ahead and start with prayer, and then we're just going to dive right into Proverbs, a certain portion of Proverbs chapter 10, which is going to be talking about wisdom and understanding and how can we apply that to our life today. Father, thank you so very much for your kindness and you, the way you love us and how you guide us. And I pray that you guide us today and that you speak your words deep inside of the heart of the person who is listening right now, that you speak them deep inside of me, and that we will be able to hear you in a new and a profound way, exactly where it is that we need to hear you. We ask these things in the name of Yeshua, that is Jesus the Messiah. Amen. Okay, I'm going to start right here with we're talking Proverbs 10. And we're going to go to verse 6. Actually, let me just start from the beginning. It says, a wise son makes a father rejoice, but a foolish son is his mother's sorrow. Have you ever had a wise son and a foolish one? You know that statement is completely true. Treasures of wrongness are of no value. Treasures of wrongness are of no value. Listen to me, friend. There might be people inside of your life that are doing things that are just flat out wrong. What do I mean by that? You see, there's the wrong from a religious standpoint, and then there is wrong, right? There's what's really, really wrong. And you need to test what you think is wrong. Because sometimes, I have to tell you this quick thing. I was recently in a coaching situation with one of our clients who has somebody on his staff who's very high up. He's an executive role, and he has a tendency of kind of calling people out on their stuff. And one of the values of the company is do the right thing. And so I had to challenge my client in this, because here, look at this again. So treasures of wrongness are of no value. You see, there are some things that we call wrong that are not necessarily wrong. They might be a religious wrong thing, but that's just a religious wrong thing. It's not necessarily wrong in the eyes of God. Now, let's go here. If we jump over to the Second Testament, which is where the stories and the writings about Yeshua is, Jesus, the Messiah. And here we see that he flipped over tables in the temple, that he lashed out against the religious people, that he like called them out on their stuff. He even yelled at some of them. He was angered with some of them. You know what I'm saying? Like he like popped chest with several of these religious leaders. And we, as a religious person, could say, well, when we see other people do things like that, when we see other people stand up for righteousness, when we see other people call that which is wrong, and that which is right. We have a tendency that we don't see really Jesus in that light, but we only see him as the lamb. We don't see him as the lion. We see him as the lamb, and we see him as he's peace, he's quiet, he's passive. But I'm so sorry, I don't know what book you're reading, but he's not. Yes, there are times where he is. I can't even see the word passive because that's not what he was. He was compassionate. compassionate. He was kind. Kind and compassionate is not passive. He was forgiving. That is also not passive. Passive is watching that which is wrong and not doing anything about it. And so he was far from passive. He was actually one who stood up for righteousness. He stood up for justice, and he called the kettle black. Called the black kettle black, and just said, "Hey, you're off track, and you think that you're sinless. Well, here, bam, 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 bam. These things are totally in question." And so there's sometimes that you might work with people who are passionate, just like Yeshua was. He was a passionate man. Hello, he walks into the temple and flips over the tables of the money changers and says, "My Father's house is supposed to be a house of prayer. You are a den of thieves." Talk about, whoa, that was a strong tongue. What about to the woman that he says that she comes to him and says, "Please help me. My daughter needs to be delivered of a demon." And he says, "Woman, I'm not here for you. No, I am here for these people over here. I am not here for you." And she was a Samaritan woman. He says, "Hey," she says to him, "Hey, even the dogs get the crumb off the table." And so that was a rude thing for him to say to this mother who's asking for help on behalf of her child. That was just flat out rude thing to say, right? But see, look, you might have some people in your office or even at home that sometimes they might say something rude or they might like call somebody out and make someone feel uncomfortable. Well, those are the same exact things that Yeshua did. The same exact things. And yet in the case that I was talking about with my client, he's like, "Well, I don't appreciate that he would talk to somebody like that. But hold on a second. Is he doing the right thing? Is he calling somebody out that has not met a deadline?" And yeah, okay, so if you don't like the way it's done, to me, it sounds like you didn't do the right thing by going to him and confronting the issue. And so what's important is that this passage right here where it says treasures of wrongness are of no value. So the question is do you really know what's wrong? Or do you have a religious idea of what's wrong? And do you allow your religious idea to be your compass? So is it a moral issue? So what is doing the right thing? Well, if we've offended somebody, we hurt their feelings, it is to say, "I'm sorry, please forgive me." But here's what's so funny. Even Yeshua didn't even do that. We don't see it in the scripture that he went back to the Pharisees and said, "Man, I'm sorry, I was a little strong." You don't see that in there. He just calls them out. Same with John the Baptist, brood of vipers. Who told you about the coming of the end? I mean, he just slapped these guys silly, and they were rude. He and Yeshua both were rude in many cases. And yet we have a tendency, of making up our own rules of what we call wrong and right. I challenge you to look at that. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more after this. Do you have a closet full of clothes yet say, "I have nothing to wear"? Are you a mom doing her best but desperately lacking me time? Or maybe your schedule has you dressing practically instead of powerfully. What if I told you there's a system, a blueprint that can save you time, money, and turn every head in the room, as well as impact the world through fashion? Friend, you're in the fashion business whether you like it or not. You're an ambassador representing your faith, your marriage, family, and business. Style is just a skill made easy with 123 Style Me. 10 steps to style success that will expand your leadership, save you hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars. This program will bring you peace of mind, reignite your marriage, make you more productive, respected, and instantly boost your confidence, equipping you to be bold and beautiful. Go to courses.lindapage.com. Again, that is courses.lindapage.com and make a priceless investment in yourself.
Did you know you can take the Dani Johnson Show with you wherever you go? It's never been easier to stay up to date with the latest content from Dani with the DaniJohnson.com app. Watch or listen in the car, at the gym, or on the go. Download it now from the App Store and Google Play and never miss a show again. Your family, business, and bank account will thank you. And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
Be careful of putting yourself in the place of a judge. Because being in that place of a judge, you better know your stuff. And I'll tell you what, I don't know all my stuff. I don't. I clearly don't. And there are things that I thought were wrong and I horribly judged especially my husband, because my husband was more like, yeah, John the Baptist and Yeshua, who could like strip somebody in a half second, make them feel really, really uncomfortable. And it would just make me so mad. And I would judge him as being insensitive and cold-hearted. But the fact was, he was calling the kettle black, and no one likes it when they're called out on their stuff, no question. I'm not saying that that's what you should go and do. But to me, doing the right thing is that when we mess up, we make it right. And so what I said to my client recently, who was trying to discern whether or not to have a conversation with one of his vice presidents as to whether or not that person is doing something wrong, and I simply said, wait a second, it sounds to me like you've created some core values inside your company that everyone is supposed to be sinless, and that's according to your idea of sinless. Because Jesus, Yeshua, would have been called sinful according to your standards of flipping a table. He would have been called, sinful because of the way that he handled the Pharisees. He would have been called sinful by how he called what he said to the woman who was asking for help for her demon-possessed child. You would have called him, sinful, according to your idea. So what it sounds like to me is that you want everything to be Disneyland all day, every day with your employees, and you have an expectation of no one screwing up. So let's go through that again. The treasures of wrongness are of no value. You have to know what really is wrong versus, is what you're calling wrong really wrong in the eyes of the Father? Or is it wrong according to your Disneyland version of this book called the Bible? How do you perceive this book? But let's keep going. The rest of that passage says, but righteousness delivers from death. Righteousness delivers from death. Right standing, be in right standing. That's if you've done something wrong, you make it right. This is not an expectation that everyone is supposed to be perfect and sinless all the time. That's a great way for you and everyone around you to be set up for failure. Next, Yahweh does not let the being of the righteous go hungry, but he thirsts away the desire of the wrong. Poor is he who works with a lazy hand, but the hand of the hard worker makes rich. Friend, listen to me. If you want your finances to change, you want to line up with what this book says. You see, sometimes we are in the wrong, but we think we're right. But our value in the marketplace helps us to determine whether or not we're right or we're wrong. Could it be that we need to change the way we see things? Could it be that we need to put ourselves in a position where we are learning? And sometimes when we are a judgmental person, it can cause us to be idle with our hands. And in the case with this, where it says, poor is he who works with a lazy hand. Why? I can't tell you how many times where I've seen people struggling with self-motivation because things are not perfect with their business or their career. I've also seen it where people in their home, husbands and wives in their home, where they work with a lazy hand at home because things are not perfect at home either. So there is of this personality that has to have everything just right. And if everything was just right, well, then I would then give 100% to the work. And I would make sure that my hand was not lazy, but my hand would be working diligently if everything was perfect. Or if I had a clear vision as to what I'm doing. Can't tell you how many times I've heard people say, like, well, I just don't know what I'm doing. I just don't know what the point of what I'm doing. The point of what you're doing is for provision, friend. But Dani, I need to know what my purpose is for my life. No, you don't. Your purpose is two things. Go forth and multiply. Love God with all your heart, your soul, your might. Love your neighbor as yourself and work. We see this all in the very front part of the Bible. And so the fact is that go forth and multiply. Okay, love God, love your neighbor, and work. 4 very important things. If you are a parent, your job then is to train up. If you went forth and multiplied, your job is to train up your next generation to simply love God with everything that is in them, and for them to love their neighbor and to work. The Bible doesn't say, and here we have the richest man on earth that is giving personal advice to his son. He's writing a personal letter to his son, and he simply is saying, it's like he just lays out the success track for him. Lazy hands produce poverty. But The hand of the hard worker makes rich. The hand of the hard worker makes rich. So you might be saying, well, why am I not rich? I'm a hard worker. That's a question for you to answer. Are you a hard worker in the areas that you should be working hard? Are you a hard worker in the areas you should be working hard? According to the Bible, and the Bible doesn't lie, hardworking hands make you rich. So there's a couple things going on. Number one, what is hard work to you? Number two, what is riches to you? Number three, what is a lazy hand? I'll tell you what produces lazy hands all day, every day. It's real simple. It's people who are confused and caught up in trying to find their purpose. That somehow they're waiting for some script to fall out of the sky that tells them exactly what to do. There is a script. It's right here. Go forth and multiply. Love him, love your neighbor, and work with diligent hands. Diligent hands produce wealth. You want to produce wealth? Then there's some things that you must learn to do, and being diligent is one of them. Being diligent with your work versus lazy with your work. How do you know which one you're doing? Friend, the results tell you the truth. So look at your results. Your results are a direct result of what you are producing every single day. And so you might be lazy in the area of where your boss needs you to not be lazy. And you might be working diligently at things that don't matter, that just don't matter. And by the way, who's your boss? The one upstairs. Your Father is watching and seeing every single thing that you do and will reward you in due time for the work in which you are producing. It also says to do your work as unto him and not as unto man. That doesn't mean go work for a ministry. That means your work that you do every day is a ministry, even if you work at a gas station. This is Dani Johnson. Check this out. Are you confident that you're always getting a good deal? Have you been equipped with the negotiation confidence, strategies, tactics, and supporting tools you need to close world-class deals? Finally, JPA is making the exact same specialized negotiation training and secrets used by the world's largest, most successful corporations available to everyone. Proven in more than 60 countries and used by brands like Adidas, Vodafone, Pfizer, Nokia, and others, the JPA negotiation method will set you up to save money and time while significantly increasing your profits. It doesn't matter if you're buying or selling real estate, closing contracts with suppliers, or selling products and services to individuals or organizations. Using their simple step-by-step negotiation preparation checklist, you'll be ready to confidently slug it out toe-to-toe with the toughest professional negotiators. It's time for you to stop leaving money and opportunity on the table. Go to bizneg.com/events to register now. Again, that's bizneg.com/events. Get registered today.
After plugging in the first steps to success, I've been able to pay off over $25,000 in debt. I've been able to live my life to the fullest and also excel in my career where I am sought out for different positions and opportunities.
I went from making no money to I made $13,000 extra using Dani's principles in that side business venture, and $104,000 that first year. I walked away from my military career after 8 years. It took me 5 years to pay off $292,000 in debt. Today, we're completely debt-free, and I've made a six-figure income every single year. The last several years, over $250,000 a year. Every single bit of it is because of what I learned at First Steps to Success. I would definitely recommend you get to the very next First Steps to Success event, no matter what it takes.
I was able to learn some great skills to pay off debt. I paid off $38,000 in 27 months. My relationships are more genuine, they are more real. And my business, we've just now tripled our income in the business in just 2 short years.
My business is completely turned around. I'm now leading a big team in my business. I've been able to pay off some debt. I've found my spirituality again. So that's probably the most important thing that I've gotten since attending is just building back up my relationship with God. And since then, everything else has been turning around.
Since attending First Steps to Success and training with Dani Johnson, I've paid off in 11 months over $14,000 in debt. I've gone on 5 vacations and I've gotten 2 raises at my job. So I don't know where you're at all, But all I know is if you want a positive change in your life, I highly recommend you get to the next first steps to success. Register today.
We paid off over $35,000 in debt in 8 months, which I'm glad my wife did drag me to the event. And I've been very thankful for all the teachings that Dani and the community has given us.
Since plugging in, my husband and I are completely in love with each other. Our marriage has been completely restored. We've paid off almost $500,000 in debt. My life has completely changed. We have beautiful twin infants. We have enough money to do what we want, go where we want. We travel around the world, and I have hope and a reason to live again. So I would tell you to get to the next first steps to success. Get registered right now and join me there.
What multimillionaire do you know that volunteers their time to help ordinary people like you and me? There's only one. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
So, I know that you desire to grow. Otherwise, you wouldn't be watching this. You would never, ever listen to any of the words that I'm saying if you didn't desire to grow. So, right here in Proverbs chapter 10, it tells you how to grow. So let's continue going on. We started at the beginning on chapter 10, verse 1. The richest man who ever lived the earth, giving sound advice to us today. He who gathers, this is verse 5, he who gathers in summer is a wise son. He who sleeps in harvest is a son who causes shame. Wise son gathers in the harvest. The one who causes shame is the one who's sleeping during the harvest. Are you in a harvest season and you don't know it? Are there other people prospering around you and you are whining instead? Are you focused on the harvest that is in front of you? Or are you focused about how small that harvest is? Are you working with diligent hands so that your hands will prosper? And are you working the way you should be? That if you know that your Father in heaven, God Almighty, his name is Yahweh, that he is watching over you, he has entrusted you a certain work territory to prosper in, who his desire is to promote you, his desire is to prosper you, his desire is to bless you. So are you bringing to the table what is necessary to prosper? Or are you that son that brings shame who sleeps in the harvest? Verse 6, blessing are on the head of the righteous, but violence covers the mouth of the wrong. But the name of the wrong ones, verse 7, the remembrance of the righteous is blessed, but the name of the wrong ones rot. Wow. The wise in heart accepts commands, but one with foolish lips falls. He who walks in integrity walks safely, but he who perverts his ways becomes known. What is one who perverts his ways? Cheating, Facebooking while you're at work. Yeah. Instagramming while you're at work, like if it's not your job. Okay, if you're doing it on your 15-minute break, if you're doing it on your lunch break, okay, fine, so be it. But if you are not honoring the time at work and the time of your business, I literally have seen business people be distracted with the silliest things and not doing something that produces. So if you want to succeed financially, don't walk a perverted way. Let me tell you what's a perverted way. You've been asked to do something by a client and or by your boss, which if you're a business owner, your clients are your boss. You've been asked to do something and you just simply refuse to do it. And or you try to guess what they were actually asking you to do instead of simply asking the question for more details. I want to make sure that I nail this for you. I want to make sure it's exactly the way that you want it. So can I just ask you a couple more questions? And you get more details from that person. Again, if you're a business owner, your clients are your boss. If you are an employee, you know who your boss is, the one that's here on earth, and then the one, and by the way, the boss that's here on earth, the Bible's clear. He's the one who put that person in charge of you and put that person as a shepherd for you. Yes, to help guide you until you're ready to be the shepherd. So I've personally seen it where people have been asked to do a specific task, but instead what they produce is excuses. That is a perverted way. You want to know what's the ultimate of perverted way? You don't even know what your weaknesses are. You're not even aware of the fact that you're not even doing what you've been asked to do. That is a full-on perverted way. How so? I've worked with people that they have absolutely no idea. And by the way, I've been that person too before. And in fact, I might be that person right now and not even know it. But I've worked with people that don't even realize what their weaknesses are. They don't even realize that they are they are so perverted that they are in the path of doing nothing besides creating excuses instead of solutions. They're creating excuses, which is creating problems, which is creating frustration, which is creating pain in the people that they are working with. And they don't even realize it. This is a perverted path. And according to this, the remembrance of the righteous is blessed, but the name of the wrong one rots. The wise in heart accepts commands, but one with foolish lips falls. He who walks in integrity walks safely, but he who perverts his ways becomes known. He who winks with an eye causes sorrow, and one with foolish lips falls. Listen, friend, if you are on a perverted path and you are not taking heed to instructions and you're not doing the simple basics of staying focused and working diligently, well, then poverty is going to hunt you down like a wolf hunting its prey. But if you walk in honor and integrity, and if you are confused, you ask the questions and you follow directions and you stop chasing your tail of trying to find purpose that is obvious and right in front of you, you are going to have the greatest, most prosperous year of your life. It's time to play 2018 to win. It's time to play to win. Get off of a perverted path and get on the straight path that leads straight to creating wealth. It is simple, and He wants to bless you, but you have to make a decision. Will you be that servant that is working in the harvest with diligent hands, or will you be the one that is slumbering and working lazily? Choice is yours. You get to prosper today, or you get to lose financially today. That choice clearly is yours. By the way, if you have enjoyed today, please share this. Somebody else needs to hear this. Somebody else needs this kind of a word of advice today. A company needs it. A company owner, an employee needs it. Maybe your son or daughter needs it. Please share this in social media or with a text in some way. Give this to somebody else. Thanks so much for joining us today. Have a great rest of the day. Have you ever wondered if your investments are making enough money for retirement? What if you could buy an investment rental property for as little as $35,000 that rents for at least $550 a month? After Aaron and Drew Hudson asked themselves this question, Hudson Real Estate Investments was formed, and now 200 transactions have been conducted. Their system helps individuals buy and hold real estate. Their definition of a great buy and hold is a property that pays you a monthly positive cash flow from day one. Hudson Real Estate Investments has a team who find properties available for immediate purchase, vet tenants, and have qualified property management in place. So if you're looking to have freedom and live your life on your own terms, grab your phone and text the word future to 484848. Get started today. Text the word future to 484848. Secure your future now.
Did you know you can see Dani Johnson live and in person? Go to DaniJohnson.com and find out about our next live event. First steps to success. Register today. Call 866-760-8255 or go to DaniJohnson.com/FSTS. If this episode was an encouragement to you, go to DaniJohnson.com and share it with your friends now. You never know who else needs to hear it. This has been The Dani Johnson Show. Join us every weekday at 7 a.m. for more insights that will help you get to the life you've always wanted.